All right, so today we're going to be learning how to create a 5.1 mixing session in Pro Tools and monitoring that mix using headphones. If you think that's not possible, well, think again, because there's this amazing new plugin that I'm going to be revealing to you in just a little bit that makes it possible to monitor a 5.1 mix using headphones. So I'm really excited to share that with you guys because I think it's totally revolutionary. It revolutionized my business. It allowed me to start mixing in 5.1 without even having a 5.1 speaker configuration, which, to be completely honest, is very expensive to get into and very difficult to get right. So I actually get better results using this plugin and this method. So the only thing that I'm going to ask you, and this is not a suggestion, it's a requirement, it's to put on your favorite pair of headphones. It's the only way you're going to hear what I'm hearing. This method only works with headphones. You won't get the same results. Like, it'll still work with speakers or your smartphone speaker and whatnot, but you will not get the simulation of a 5.1 mixing environment if you're not wearing headphones. So make sure to get your headphones on as soon as possible, and we're going to dive right into the Pro Tools session. I'm using a template. It's my personal template that I use for sound design and re-record mixing for TV and film. And I'm actually going to give this template away for free. So there's going to be a link for that in the description box. So it'll allow you to get started, without knowing, like how to route everything or how to set that up yourself. So make sure to get your hands on that. Feel free to pause the video if you need a moment to get that going. But that's basically what you're going to need to get started. So let's switch over to Pro Tools and let's get started. Oops. All right. So this is the session. This is what it looks like. So this is a typical mixing session for, TV and film. You've got everything split up. You got dialogue, you got sound effects, you got music, got our submixes. In this case, we have our stereo submixes, right? Because this is still a stereo session, but we're going to be up mixing it to 5.1. And that's very important because it's very difficult to down mix 5.1 to stereo. So that's why we're going the other way around. So here are our 5.1 submixes, and these are our master channels. So we got one for stereo, we got one for 5.1, and we got some sort of a concoction that I made for you guys, to illustrate, what this, system or what a 5.1 mix would even sound like. So I made a little example using some stock sound effects that I gathered from a library called SoundQ, which is offered by Pro Sound Effects. So definitely check that out if you're into sound design. I think it's great. But yeah, so the first thing, and this is the most important thing, and honestly, once you get this set up, you could be on your merry way. So let's get into that. What is this? What is this essential step that we need to do? Well, we need to create what we refer to as a path, okay? Because we don't have we don't have a channel that is 5.1 that is routed to our headphones yet. That doesn't come stock with Pro Tools. We have to create that ourselves. So let's go into setup. We have our IO, which stands for input output. So let's click that. And this is what confused me at first. I had a little trouble because I was actually looking in the wrong place. I was looking in output for some reason. So you have input, you have output, and you have bus. So what you want to do is going to go under bus. Okay, and let's scroll down a little bit, and we're going to see the one that I already have created, which is 5.1 headphones. So you see, 5.1 headphones. So just for the sake of this tutorial, let's create a new path. Okay, it has to be 5.1, or to be honest, you can do 7.1. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Well, in this case, it does. Let's do 5.1. But I mean, I'm just saying that you can do it for any type of surround sound configuration down the line. Once you get this setup going, you can apply it to whatever type of configuration you want. So let's call it 5.1 headphones. F2, create. So here we have it. So we're gonna actually need to enable that. That's what this little check mark does. And as you can see, we already have mapping to output. So it's mapping this 5.1, like you see LCR, left, center, right, left, surround, rear surround, and LFE. And just for a little FYI, a fun fact, this is ITU 5.1 configuration. It's not film, it's ITU. That's going to be important for you to remember down the line. So just take note of that. You don't need to know what it means right now, but important to know. And yeah, so if it's going to be different for you, this part, because this is just my audio interface. You might have more outputs and it might work differently. In this case, I just map it to my monitor left, right, which in the case of my audio interface does both the monitors and the headphones, but I have the monitors muted at the moment. But that's just the way I roll. That's the way I like to do things. So once we got that set up, we're done. We're set up. I'm actually going to delete it right now because I'm not going to need another one. So let's do that. And you click OK, but I'm going to click cancel. So that is set up. So before, well, actually, let's hear this example. We haven't even listened to it yet. I just wanted to show you guys that as a preliminary step, but let's listen to this. Let's listen to what this sounds like. All right. So what you're hearing now is actually a simulation of a 5.1 mix. So this is what it would sound like in a 5.1 mixing room. So it's basically summed to headphones, and we might as well just get into the plugin. You guys waited long enough to find out what this plugin is. Here it is. It's inserted on the 5.1 master channel, which was where you're gonna need to put it. It's called Dear VR Monitor. It's by a company called Dear Reality. Great company, great plugin. It is actually relatively affordable. If you consider the costs of actually getting into a surround sound, upgrading your studio to be surround sound compliant. It is very expensive, and this plugin, especially when it's on sale, is ridiculously cheap, and there's also a free trial. So make sure to give it a shot. It works for stereo mixing too, so you actually have like a virtual reality mixing environment. That's what this plugin does. Okay, so we're not going to talk too much about that because that's not what this video is about. We want to get you set up as quickly as possible. But I have it, you see, remember when I said ITU standard? I have it set up for 5.1 ITU, and there's also 5.1 film, but we're doing ITU. Very important, otherwise it will not sound right. Things are going to be like messed up. I'm not going to get into the details of why that is. Just trust me on this one. So that's set up basically for 5.1 ITU, and you're going to even see, like, I don't know if you guys noticed during the playback, but these 5.1 submixes, you had all the channels were firing, but on the master channel for 5.1, you had only 2 channels firing, and that's because it is being summed to binaural, right, for the headphones. So if you're not familiar with what binaural means, it's basically a 3D 360-degree rendering of a surround sound mix. That's the best way I can word it. There's probably better ways, but that's what it is. If you guys are interested, I'll leave a link to an article down in the description where I talk about binaural audio, and I might make a video. So if you guys are interested, leave me a comment. Let me know. I'd love to talk about binaural audio. It's super interesting. Definitely the way forward for headphones. So that's basically it. You even have the option to choose scenes, like if you want to simulate like a club, a cinema, like a home theater, things that you might want to consider doing. But I just leave it mix room A. Sounds like nice and dry and neutral. That's what we want. And the only other thing I do is I set the master gain. I bump it up 10 dB because for some reason it actually lowers the volume when we use it. So now let's just do a quick comparison before and after. and pay particular attention to the sound of this car. I don't know if you noticed, but it was kind of like behind us. That's the way it's panned. It's going left to right from the rear speakers, from the surround speakers. And I'm actually going to bring that up over here. We're going to talk about what this does later, but I just want you guys to see it because this is an automation. I created this, so check this out. This is with the plugin, and we're going to listen to it without after so you can hear the difference. Right? So that's pretty cool. Let's listen to it without. So not a huge difference in this case because to be fair, we only have like 4 tracks, and to my ears anyways, like it sounds more like a pan from left to right when the plugin is off, and when the plugin is on, you actually hear it like it's behind you a little bit more, and that's totally the point. But to be more specific, like when you're gonna have hundreds of tracks, right, which is typical of like these types of mixes, your levels, like if you're monitoring 5.1 with headphones without a DRVR monitor, your levels are going to be completely off. So when you finally export it to 5.1 and it plays in the movie theater, everything's going to be completely off. Like the levels are not going to be accurate. You're not going to have any way of, like doing, monitoring accurately if you're just doing it with headphones. So that's why you need a plugin like this to at least get your levels right. And then if you have a little extra budget or you have some connections, the owner of a movie theater in your area that will be willing to like let you use the room before it opens or something like that, right? Just giving you guys some ideas here. Well, then you can actually go monitor in a real life setting and get like the most accurate possible mix. But before that, you can get like 99% of the way there with this plugin. So that's the whole idea. That is why I am making this tutorial, because you could do this on your laptop, okay? And that is revolutionary. Mixing surround sound on a laptop. Just think about that. Think about what that could do for your business, what kind of services you can start offering, and I'll let you think about that and let your imagination do the magic. But for the time being, let's break down this template, this session, how it's organized, and how we're going to route everything, because that's like very, very important. I mean, I did say we were pretty much set up once we created that path, but I need to show you how to route it, and that's what Pro Tools is all about. It's all about routing. So if you're not familiar with Pro Tools and you want to get familiar with Pro Tools and use this as a tool, to push your career in sound and music forward, well, I have an essentials, like Pro Tools Essentials course available. So you can definitely check that out if you're interested. You can sign up at decibelpeakacademy.com. All right. And I'll leave a link to that in the description. You'll have access to some free courses, some free tutorials. But of course, a lot of the courses are going to be paid. And I highly recommend them if you want to get a strong, solid foundation without wasting too much time and just getting straight into like what you need to know, the basics. This is an advanced tutorial, right? This is if like you already know what you're doing, or maybe you're just a little curious. This is why I'm making these tutorials. So that being said, if you're a little confused, a little lost, it's completely normal. You could always leave me a comment. I'll answer your question, no problem. But this is advanced stuff. So get ready, download the template. It'll help you. But even then, hold on tight. So let's just break down this session. So like I said, basic, typical default sound design / re-record mixing session. We have dialogue, sound effects, and music. These are folders, okay? These are folders, summing folders to be more specific. And underneath these summing folders, we have others. We have production sound, dialogue editing, and ADR. That's for the dialogue. And for sound effects, we have SFX, we have Foley, and ambience. typical, default. That's what it is. That's what we work with in this industry. And music is just music. You're going to have all your music tracks, and you're going to have your automation, everything. All right. And, you know, like basically these things, sound effects, Foley, ambience, you can see over here, they are routed. Sound effects are routed. Actually, you know what? These, I didn't even do, it doesn't matter. We're not going to get into that. But anyways, you can see actually these audio tracks are not routed to the right place. And it doesn't matter because we're actually not monitoring this in stereo. But if we were, this would actually be wrong. But we're not doing that. I'll correct that. Once you download the template, it won't have this mistake. Just for you knowledgeable folks out there who see this and be like, hey, this is not even routed to the right place. You're absolutely right. So, and you know what? While we're at it, might as well show you how to do that. So I'm holding Shift and Alt, selecting two of them. Do this, and we're going to route this to SFX, which is right over here. There you go. And this guy, it has to be routed to music. And there we go. And then these guys over here, this one's going to be routed to ADR. Everything else is routed properly. Everything else is fine, you see? So we have these, they're routed to dialogue, and we're all good. So that's for the stereo mix, right? Because like I said, this is a stereo mix that we're up mixing to 5.1. So by default, everything is going to the stereo buses, which are over here. And yeah, these are going to out 1, 2. That's what you want your basic, you know, your stereo sub mixes to be routed to. You want them to be routed to your well, it depends if you have different speaker sets, but out 1 and 2 is the default, and that's what it should be routed to in this case, and that goes straight to your stereo master, which is muted at the time being. You can see the fader is all the way at 0. Now, to get this in 5.1, we're going to be using sends, okay? Because that's the only way. We can't route things to 2 places. We can only route them to 1 place, and we can send as many sends as we want. So you can actually even have a 7.1 session in here if you wanted. You know, you can upmix it to both 5.1 and 7.1, but for the time being, let's hold our horses and let's just stick with 5.1. So ADR, dialogue, you can see this is the 5.1 panner or the surround sound panner. This is what it looks like. In this case, we have a mono track, and it is straight center. Dialogue goes straight down the center. And you see the volume is there. That's for dialogue. For the LFE, right? So this is like the thunder and that kind of stuff. I brought the LFE, as you can see over here. I brought it up. So this is going to be working the subwoofer, which is really cool, right? The rumble of the thunder. It's set up like that. Other than that, it's panned to the center of the room. So it feels like it's all around. So it's coming out of all the speakers, essentially, the you know, the high frequency sounds. So that's like that what I did for that one. For the car, like I said, I just automated the panning. They're just working with the rear, you know, the surround speakers, which are the rear speakers, and it's automating left to right. Center speaker is disabled. So that's, you know, what the kind of stuff you want to get into with 5.1. These are the kind of tricks you want to play. And then you have your music, and the music, it's pretty simple. What I do is I actually bring it back, as you can see. I bring it a little off the screen, and I find it mixes better that way because of that, you're going to hear it just a little bit in the rear speakers. And yeah, I don't know, like it's a little trick I picked up along the way. It just sounds like the music is popping a little bit from the screen. So that's why 5.1 mixes, they actually just sound better, you know, like everything has more space, which is what we want. So that's cool. So that's set up. So these are all being routed to, and this, I guess I should have mentioned this, but I guess you can see by the names here, they're being routed to our 5.1 sub mixes for dialogue, sound effects, and music. And that's basically it. Okay, so once these are there, this is the most essential step, and thank you for sticking around to the end. You had no choice to find out how we were going to even make this happen. But you have over here your output. This is where we created our path, right? It's going to pop up down here. See, I have 5.1 headphones right over here. 5.1 headphones 1. So you want to send it to that. You see the little speaker thing. That is like the green light. You want this one. So you click on this one and do the same for all of them. And you do the same thing for your 5.1 master. Your 5.1 master channel is also going to be routed to, but you know, so you got your output, and there you go. You got your Dear VR, and that's it. The last thing you're gonna want to remember, like, it's cool when you're working, you want to monitor with Dear VR monitor, like that's the whole point, right? But when you're gonna be exporting this, okay, at the very end, your 5.1 mix, remember to disable Dear VR monitor, otherwise you're gonna get a binaural render of the whole mix. You need 6 channels, right? 5.1. So make sure to disable that, otherwise it will just anger your clients. No, I'm kidding. They'll understand, but don't forget to do that part. So let's come back to reality. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to get your hands on Dear VR monitor, there's actually a free trial. I believe it's 14 days, if I'm not mistaken. So, give it a shot. You don't have to purchase it right off the bat or wait for a sale. Like, I got it at a really good price, and lately it's been going on sale more. I don't know why. But make sure to get your hands on this plugin. It's even in stereo mixing, it's super essential. Like, you can use this in stereo and just monitor your mix in different environments. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, it gives you a good way to reference things with just your headphones. I still don't think that it completely replaces like speaker monitors and actually going to a movie theater and mixing in a movie theater, which is, if your clients have the budget, that's what I would recommend doing. Instead of building yourself a 5.1 mixing room or 7.1 or 7.1.4 or Dolby Atmos or any of that stuff, just go try to get yourself a deal at a local movie theater and, make friends with the owner or whatever. Even if you have to pay a little bit, go mix in a movie theater. It's the best place to get, to hear what it would actually sound like in a movie theater, right? Because that's where it will most likely be played. So make sure to, well, I would consider doing that instead. And like I said, if your clients have the budget and it costs a little bit to rent the theater, like before it opens, like early in the morning, that kind of thing, that's a much better option. But until then, you have Dear VR monitor, you have your headphones, get some good headphones, and that's essentially it. You can work your magic. You can sell a service, right, that you weren't able to sell before, which is 5.1 mixing. You can apply the same rules or the same setup to 7.1, 7.1.4, Dolby Atmos, any of that stuff. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. You can even leave requests for future videos if you want me to do one on, like how to do this in Logic or whatever. Like, just let me know what you guys want to see. If there was anything confusing, if you want me to make a video about, I don't know, anything that you saw in this video that was a little bit confusing, I'll definitely consider it. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're into these advanced tutorials. That's mostly what I'm going to be doing from here on out. But if you want to learn the basics and the essentials and have a strong, solid foundation, to build your career and to build your studio and to build your skill set in this industry, I highly recommend signing up at Decibel Peak Academy. Like I said, there are some free videos available, some free tutorials, but the paid courses are really going to set you up properly and give you everything you need to get started and, to get into this kind of stuff. So check that out, sign up, let me know what you think, and we'll see you in the next one.